Hi everyone, we are back with my good friend Brice from Esoteric Atlanta for our normal weekly coffee chat. And, a bit of a somber tone this week because obviously we understand so many people, either themselves or their loved ones, have had an incredibly difficult month. And that's not to disrespect the people that have had all these awful things happen to them over the last few years as well, that perhaps haven't got the attention they need. But at the moment, it's full on attacks all over the place, and a lot of people are really suffering. So, Brice, obviously, I know you're right in the heat of it all and everything. How are you doing?
Well, I'm in my pajamas. I never thought my mother will probably die when she sees that I'm filming in my pajamas. I don't have a bra on right now. I've got a little makeup on, but we are right in the outskirts of zone of the target zone. And so it's been I know I've been talking to you and Tamara like nonstop because this is a travesty what has happened here. And I said I wasn't going to say anything online. I didn't say anything online, but I'm just so excited. Just before we started filming, I did not say anything online. Catherine, you knew, some of our friends knew, but I have a cousin who lives in Asheville and his wife, and I've been so, oh, I don't want to cry. I've been so worried, but I haven't said anything publicly. And I just found out this morning that he is okay. He and his wife are okay, and their whole town is gone, and their house is still standing. So they have people living in their house right now. And according to my uncle, there's probably definitely PTSD going on. And as you guys know, I we have family right in the red zone of Florida that got hit by, well, attacked by Milton, and the town is now underwater. We have two family members we have not heard from. We know that they did evacuate, but so and I we're just kind of, I feel like I'm in like a freeze response because we're just trying to, the it's probably that they just lost power and they haven't been able to call us because of cell phones losing charge. And so we're just kind of waiting to hear. I know so many people in Florida posted videos of writing their names in Sharpie and their birth date on their arms, just in case something happens that they could be identified. And that's the reality of what's going on. And it's not fake news, it's real. Um, According to my cousin, again, we know this, the town is gone in North Carolina. There's still bodies and trees. We're not getting the aid that we need from the people that are supposed to help us, but we are the silver lining in all of this. And somebody said this, and I loved it. What we must remember, and I think this is true for every country. So I hope everybody listening, you hear me, because if it can happen here, we know this is an
Mm,
attack. It can happen anywhere. The government didn't build your country. The people did.
mm.
The people did. And right now we're seeing that in America when our government isn't helping, the people are.
Yeah, big
And
time.
that's the beautiful thing about this. And so the people are what the patriots made built this country, and the patriots are what are going to save this country. And that's true for every single country on the globe. I will say, we've talked about this. No matter where you live in the world, no matter what land you're on, every single place in the world has their own natural disasters. Wherever
Yeah,
you live, where and in the Southeast, I'm from the Southeast, we're used to hurricanes and we're used to tornadoes. Doesn't mean that we don't take them seriously. We're not laissez-faire about them, but we're used to them. And so usually when these things happen, we just hunker down, we put our helmets on, we get in the hall, we do what we got to do, we board up, and then we get on with life. This does not, and I've seen so many videos from so many people who are used to this saying, this doesn't feel right.
mm,
Something doesn't feel right about this. Something is wrong. This is not your normal. I mean, we get hurricanes every year. We get tornadoes multiple
yeah.
times every year. This is not what this is. And I do want to applaud Governor DeSantis
Mm.
because he has really been on it with Florida. And apparently, I saw videos where he refused to evacuate. He stayed with his people, and he said, "If my people go down, I go down with them." And I that makes me emotional because
Mm.
that's a true leader. To
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I think there's so much. I mean, one of the things I've seen, and the reason I called this hurricane and psyops is not at all that I think that the hurricanes didn't happen. Oh my goodness, no. It's the fact, and of course, it's not just the hurricanes, there's wildfires happening. And a couple of years ago, Australia was devastated with the floods and the fires and everything. And then we've
Hawaii.
had obviously Hawaii, and we've had Mexico, and all the other places I wouldn't have heard about because there are numerous that were not being told about. I had seen that Acapulco had been hit again. So the thing is, as you said, a couple of things is that I think I've never seen such a surge in awakening across the globe of all sorts of people who now realise that this is weather warfare. And I want to shout out to a dear friend of mine, Dane Wigington, who's been on my show a few times, even though you can't find the videos on there. You have to go and look at the playlist. But Dane Wigington, geoengineering watch.org, I'll put his links below. He's been really doing the rounds and including with top military officials to really fill them in, because he's got the footage that shows about the direct energy weapons, about how it is all being manipulated. He can actually show them the evidence. So if anyone's in ever doubt, go and look at his work. He's incredible. He's been doing this work for 30 years. It's amazing. But what I'm so encouraged about, Brice, and is that so many people now realise what's going on, and so many people from across the globes. I mean, our friend Medina in Australia, people from everywhere. I've never known so many people praying in the UK for people in this. And there's so many tragedies that have happened. I mean, we won't even get into the Israel scenario and Gaza, but this to me is a huge step up in terms of the people that are going to say enough, because for some reason this has really gone a step too far for people, and they're realizing that this is manipulated, man-made, pure evil. And the people from all over the world are going to start getting together, I really feel, in a much stronger way, and it's much needed. How do you feel about that? Are you seeing this as well?
Yeah, I've seen so, I mean, Americans, you guys, and again, I apologize. I mean, we've known for a while that this has been going on, but when it happens literally in your own backyard, and your family, I mean, by the grace of God, it did not, Killeen did not really hit, we just had a flickering power. But for this over this week, to know that as I said, I told Catherine offline, I didn't say anything about that when my cousins was missing, and to have to carry on, and then to have other family now. I mean, it's coming at us at all directions. And to see, and I will say, I'm sorry, it gets me so emotional, because there have been these videos popping up on my YouTube feed of people from all over the world sending their love to the Americans, because we're all human beings, right? Like, regardless of where you live in the world, regardless of what your accent is, what your language is, we're human beings. And there was this one Swedish couple that did a video, and they had these, I don't follow them. I think they're commentary. They don't even cover stuff I watch, but it popped up on my feed, and they had the American flag t-shirt on. And they just did this quick video saying how much they were praying for the Americans. And the man said something. He goes, one thing you can't take away from Americans is their courage. Americans would rather die on their feet than live on their knees. And we are praying for you guys. And I want to tell from people from foreign countries. I know, Catherine, you told me yesterday on the phone when we were talking that your neighbor said that their churches were praying. When these people, especially North Carolina, were not expecting this. This came out of the blue. Hurricanes don't come to North Carolina. They don't come to the mountains. They go to the coast, but not the mountains. So this took them totally by surprise. And some of them have been without food and water for days, without electricity. And I'm hearing that the minute they are rescued and they see the amount of people around the world who know what happened to them and who are sending messages out to them, it's making a huge difference in their healing, because they're going to be healing from this for a very long time.
Yeah.
And just knowing. So if you're someone in another country who feels like you're not doing enough, you're doing enough, right? Mm-hmm. Just by knowing that this is happening, and just by putting videos out and having that just human to human concern, you are making a huge impact in the people that get rescued in their healing journey, to know that somebody, a complete stranger on the other side of the world, cares, when our own government doesn't even care. That, and I think too, like I was talking
about, doesn't even care. I mean, there's no way they cannot be implicated, allegedly.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing, is it's like when these things are natural disasters, although the more we know, you have to question everything since back to the 40s, whether
Yeah.
anything's natural now. But, you know, when it's a sort of so-called act of God, we know that weather does happen. But when you know, because the evidence is overwhelming, that this is actually manipulated, that is pure evil, and that's a different level of trauma than than anything else. And I think this is why it's so beautiful that people, out of some really, really awful things, isn't it so often that great good comes? And that's not much consolation to people who've lost people, but I really do feel now that this mass awakening has taken another huge step up.
Absolutely. And I will say too, like, think about evacuating, you guys. And I don't think people who don't live in areas that have ever had to evacuate ever really understand what that means. I want you to consider, for those who are naysaying about the people who couldn't evacuate, I want you to consider that you're living in your home and then you get this, like, all of a sudden this call where you're mandatory evacuation. What do? You have to pack your house up, get your valuables, get your photo albums, get whatever you don't want to lose, pack your children up. Then you got to sit on the freeway for hours because there's traffic. Gas prices are gouged. You finally get, like, in Georgia, South Georgia, I'm hearing that all hotels are booked up now. So do you know what people are? South Georgia is a lot of farmland. Do you know what people are doing? They're opening up, Georgians that live on the border are opening up their farm so people can drive their car and camp out on their farm. And sorry, you see videos of them going to, like, Walmart, big stores, buying a bunch of blankets and towels and pillows and just bottles of water so that the people that come on their farm, they can at least give them a blanket, because some of these people just left, and they've left. And for, our government wants to give them, what, 700. These people lost everything. My cousin said his whole town is just gone. So you think about your house, like, your photo albums are gone. Your all your legal documents, now granted those can be replaced, your legal documents, they're gone. Your any jewelry you inherited from your, gone. Everything is gone. And you think about that, like, I can't imagine for a parent to realize all their photo albums of their children are gone. Your laptop's gone, everything is gone. And yesterday, or the day before, Kamala made a big ass out of herself. She gaslit the people of North Carolina, had a press conference, and basically said to the people of North Carolina, this is what happens when you don't save your money. Are you kidding me? These people don't have her. The good thing about Florida is there's hurricane insurance. So even though there's devastation, when we go back down to help recuperate the property, there's hurricane insurance. So at least we know some things we're going to be able to get it paid for, to get repaired. There's no hurricane insurance in the Appalachian Mountains because they don't need it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, we're in a recession right now. Everybody's struggling with money. Not many people can save. They're living paycheck to paycheck. But what, even if we were in a great economy, who saves enough money to replace literally everything?
Yeah.
Everything.
And also there's, the other thing, I had got really annoyed with someone yesterday because they were like, well, why aren't these people evacuating it? It's like, because a lot of people have got stable yards, they've got farm animals, they can't get them all out. So what are you going to do? Just leave them? I mean, there's been some horrific things, like I saw a policeman rescuing someone who'd left a dog tied to the fence. I mean, what sort of evil does that? But this is the thing, is it's like, I saw someone else rescuing a cat, but any of us who have got cats know that if there's trouble, they disappear off. So some people would have had to leave their cats because they wouldn't have found them before they left. The trauma is so deep. But I think one of the things why I wanted to sort of bring the hurricane together with the Psyops, and actually my friend John Nolan on the Inspired channel, if anyone hasn't gone and subscribed to that, please do. He's just done a brilliant video on the Psyops, and he runs through all of them, right back from the 40s to the ones of Vietnam. We've all heard of MK Ultra. But he also raised something that I didn't know about, and I'm just going to read it now, which is absolutely incredible, about, look, guys, at some stage it's called Operation Trust. I'm not going to repeat it all. I'll put the link to his video below because he covers it in such detail. It's fantastic. But if you look at the Operation Trust programming, which was basically came out of Russia, and in the Bolshevik resolution, it was like, because they knew that the revolutionaries were really making big progress, they got infiltrated and they were told, no, wait, it's all under control, trust the plan. And the wording from this Operation Trust is exactly what has happened to the psyop of trust the plan. I even saw people posting all over social media about, oh, the reason it happened in Florida is to flood out the dams and rescue the children. I mean, the level of dementia. I did, and it was absolutely brilliant, Brice. I went to see David Icke live on Monday night, and I don't care what people say about him, but there were some so key points that came out of that. And one of the main ones that really resonates with me at the moment, as soon as you pick a side, you're closing yourself off from really listening to intuition, really looking at what's going on here. So how many people chose a side during the pandemic and then sat there and came up with the most ridiculous rationalizations for why Trump had supported the you-know-whats? You know, you can literally fight for your own limitations, because once you picked a side, people double down on it and they'll do anything to defend that side. My side's good, that side's bad. And it stops them looking that often there's a lot of things that are pulling towards the same agenda. So I think, you know, keeping an open mind on these things and really looking and sort of saying, okay, this is happening now. As you said, if this can happen there, it can happen everywhere. Those poor people in Carolina, as you say, they had no warning. The only good thing about Florida, and the only good thing, is they have warning.
Yeah.
The poor people in Carolina had no warning. What absolutely horrific. They, you know, it's just horrendous. But now so many people from so many different walks of life are talking about it. Everyone's looking up at the skies now. People are listening to the interviews on this. They're looking into the patents and they're like, well, if they can lie about this,
what else are they lying about?
They lie about? And actually, who are these sides really two different sides, or are they the same, two different sides of the same coin? And that goes for all our countries, not just America, of course. I'm not
Absolutely.
just about that.
It's and I, you know, I've seen people say, oh, this is all part of the movie. No, it's not. This is not CGI. I have, trust me, I have family that's going, both Helene and Milton are, my life is being massively affected by both Helene and Milton. And it's not about me, but these people are real human beings.
Yeah.
This is not CGI. This really happened. The White House are not in control. This really innocent children. Catherine, there was one, I don't know if I told this story to you on air, off air, if I've mentioned it, but for those who don't know about hurricane, the power of, it's the wind that's really, really bad. And the wind goes so that it can rip cars apart. It can rip. That's why you see people nailing things down, and putting boards over their windows. If you have one crack in your window and a hurricane comes through, it's going to rip it like a soda can. Right. So that's why everything has to be so boarded the way it is. And it still doesn't guarantee that it's going to be safe. So for these people up in Appalachia who don't deal with hurricanes, when you start experiencing, when the wind starts to pick up and you realize you can't hold on, they found a child, a small child, walking around crying for his mommy and daddy. He had a rope tied around his waist and the rope had been torn. And it was obvious that his parents had tried everything they could to hold him by tie, and they got separated still. So there was a story of a child that, these are small towns, right? Everybody knows everybody. They've been there for generations. Like a 2-3-year-old little boy was wandering around and nobody knew who this child was. And what had happened, looking at him, is he had been washed down the river. It's amazing he survived. But they're holding this baby, a 2-year-old, a diaper on him, a baby who doesn't know his probably even can't pronounce his full name, probably doesn't even know his mommy and daddy have actual names besides mommy and daddy yet. And they're trying desperately to find, his parents are probably dead. If he rushed down the water, so trying to find grandparents, aunts, uncles, anybody who knows who this child is, because they don't even have a name for him. This is the reality. These are innocent people, innocent human beings, just like us. They're just good people who just want to live their lives. You know, that's all they are. They're not part of any type of malicious military scheme. They're just human beings. And this is what's happened. This is not a movie. I believe it was intentional, but not by the good guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And but what's very interesting is that when they've got, just as they have the technology to create these, they have the technology to stop them, and
Mhm.
it still wasn't done. So and I think people get very confused, and I completely get it, because I got very confused about this for a long while, about the whole notion of false flags. And the false flags doesn't mean that people aren't killed. It doesn't mean that atrocities don't happen. It just means who organised it is not who you think it is. It's a classic problem, reaction, solution. The baddies create a problem so that they can put in their solution afterwards. So I think when a lot of these people are sort of saying, yeah, both things can be true. You know, it can be a psyop in terms of the fact that it's not a natural event, it's been done for a particular agenda, and those are normally very, very complex. You know, it's a bit like if you have I've got animals, obviously, and quite often the frustration is your horse goes lame, you have a vet out to look at it, and they find one thing wrong, and they go, oh, that's the problem, and they stop looking elsewhere. Well, this is what you know, because if an animal's lame, or if we're lame, there can be multiple issues going on, and there normally are. It's very rarely just one thing, unless you happen to have broken your foot. This is the problem with what we're sort of life now, is people look and find one thing, and then they stop looking elsewhere. And the only way we can sort of turn this all around is to not stop looking, to have the courage to drop our belief systems, to admit where we've been fooled. This is why you and I spent 2 years talking to cult survivors, because when you take the Q movement, and again, I'm not going to cover it here because John Nolan and Inspired did it so well. I'll put the link to the video below. When you look at this, the people they attract into these psyops are really intelligent. They're really influential, just like we talked about with the cults. They're not looking for the idiots to join the cults. They're looking for the people that everyone's going to think, well, if they believe it, I believe it, sort of thing. So there's no shame in it. But there is a shame if if you're arrogant enough that you can't admit that there's stuff that you don't know
Yeah.
that could be life changing.
And I would ask too, for people who still think this is a part of a movie, what if this happened to you? What if your whole house got there was a story where a woman literally watched her child and her parents get washed away. What if this happened to you and then somebody laughed and said, "Oh, it's just part of the movie." How would that make you feel? Don't allow this truth or movement to turn you into a psychopath,
Mm.
right? Remain your humanity, because both sides of the coin, there's something wrong with both sides, and we have to come back and find our humanity again. And I don't like the whole trust the plan. I've never liked that, because that's very culty. And no, I want to know what the plan I have as a human being, as a sovereign autonomous human being. If there's a plan, we have a right to know what that is. We have a right to know what that is. And for people, look what trusting the plan got us. I heard yesterday that they have run out in North Carolina, they've run out of body bags.
Yeah.
They've run out of body bags, guys. And there's no telling the devastation. I mean, it's only right now, it is 8:45 a.m. in the morning on Thursday. We still don't know half of we don't know what Florida looks like yet, because they've lost power. We were able to watch people's Ring cameras up into the point where power crashed. And so the only pictures I sent Catherine and stuff I had was before the power crashed.
Yeah.
So there's no telling how many people this morning across the Southeast, including myself and my partner, by this evening, might be having to identify bodies. And so I want everybody who still thinks this is part of the plan to practice empathy and put yourself in. How would you feel if your area of the world was under siege right now, and there's a possibility that you would have to go identify a body tonight of your family members? This is not a movie. This is not fake. This is real. These are innocent people, just like you and me, who are just trying to live their lives, to love their country, to love their communities, and they've had everything taken from them. And so and you're right, Catherine, the positive side of this is that so many people are seeing this for what it is. I
Yeah.
sent you last night, the biggest celebrity in America that is down there helping right now is Bret Michaels from Poison. I mean, this 80s big hair singer guy, you know, he's from New Jersey. And I all of a sudden saw this footage where he's been down in North Carolina, boots on the ground. And he said that he's like, these are my people. And his video, he's like, these are my people. They're the American people. I've got the money. I've got the resources. I'm going to help. I'm going to go help my people, my American people, my countrymen, my brothers and sisters. I saw this incredible TikTok. I think I reposted, I'm not sure, but it was this black guy. I think he was driving a truck and he was mad. He was mad. He was screaming at the camera. And I'm going to paraphrase what he said. You guys go back and watch it. He said, from now on, I'm not black. I'm an American. I'm a red-blooded American. And if you mess with other red-blooded Americans, you're messing with me. And so we're seeing people kind of drop these labels that they've tried to divide with and come together as countrymen, as human beings. I've seen so many people use that term brother and sister as referring to the people that they don't even know. But, you know, as countrymen, as fellow Americans, these are our brothers and sisters. There's this woman in Colorado. I've been following her, a black woman, beautiful black woman in Colorado, where she's been mad and screaming at the camera. And she's like, you help America. Like, these are our brothers and sisters. They need our help. They need us right now. And we need to go and help them. The government needs to help them because these are our people. And that is the most beautiful to see this anger come out of people, this righteous anger.
We've spoken about that righteous anger before, and it's so important. And it's sad that it takes something like this to do it, but actually it's encouraging to see. You know, we've also spoken about before, as Wayne Dyer said, that if you squeeze an orange, only orange juice can come out. And this is where, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, where you really find out. And I think people have had enough now. And I think if we can drop all this division and the name calling and just try and keep an open mind and sort of say, does this make sense to me? What if, you know, because if they can do this here, they can do it. And they have been. Look, this is, we're talking about these. This has happened, as you say, look at what happened in Australia a couple of years ago. Look at Hawaii, look at Mexico, look at all the parts of the world, Turkey. You know, when leaders do stand up against it and refuse to join the currency or refuse to do their plans, suddenly there's a massive earthquake. You know, I think people now are really understanding the implications and also understanding this. I didn't really get about what people made by the new age criticism. Again, you know, I will put my hands up and say it's taken me a long while to get some of these things. But actually, again, you know, this whole thing about I'm only going to talk about the positive things. If you don't know what's being thrown at you, you can't protect yourself and you can't protect your loved ones. It's that simple, as you and I have spoken about before. If you're on an aeroplane and the air hostess or air host is saying, these are where the emergency exits are. If the oxygen mask, you don't sit there and say, stop telling me. You're putting out negative thoughts into there. You're saying, thank goodness I can be prepared. And, you know, this is why our channels are about understanding and being honest and constantly asking those questions about what is happening, what is causing this. If your body, if you've got chronic inflammation, if you've got a chronic disease, if you've got you know, look at how many of the population have got chronic diseases. You need to understand you can't heal yourself if you don't understand where all these toxins are coming from.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power.
And if you ignore it, it's not going to go away, you know, and that's not,
get worse.
No, spirituality isn't about disassociating. It's about doing everything you can for what's right, but being unattached to the outcome. But it's not about disassociating. And absolutely, Catherine, I'll say right now, since they're able to now obviously put hurricanes in places where hurricanes don't typically happen, listen to me carefully for those people. Make sure you have gallons of gasoline in storage. I know that's hard to store it because it's dangerous, but just listen, you're going to need some gasoline. Make sure you have bottled water because they're going to turn the water off. And even though you might get flooded out, that's contaminated water, especially if power lines come down. Make sure you have bottled water. If you need any type of medication, like I would definitely, even though we're definitely more holistic healing, I would definitely make sure you have Benadryl on hand and maybe some ibuprofen, because when you're stuck in a situation and you've got a lot of pain and you got to get to point A to point B for your life depends on it, that ibuprofen is going to come in handy just to get you to point. We talked about that even with rescuing dogs. Sometimes we don't give our dogs these things, but they've gotten some of these to get out of the country they're in, right? So sometimes, you know, you need to make sure you have non-perishable food that you can put on storage. You know, this is another reason why it's important to keep up with your physical health.
So
because
nice you said that. I wanted to come to that because you need to be physically healthy. If you're going to spend 3 days driving,
yeah,
you've got to, or rescuing people from a river or from up trees or wading through water or whatever it might be, or holding on, you
yeah.
need to be in a physically fit state as you possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, your adrenaline's gonna kick in when if something like that happened, but look at the people in Appalachia. I mean, they are pretty fit because they live in
Yeah.
Appalachia, so they're having to climb mountains every day, but they are having there was a call out, and I actually considered trying to go up there for people that know the Appalachian trails and are fit enough to come volunteer to basically hike 10 to 12 miles with food attached to them. And
Yeah.
I actually thought about it. I was like, I've been working out for 19 years now, almost 19 years. Like maybe I can go and do this because my body can handle it. Doesn't mean it's not going to be tough, but this is why it's also important to make sure your cardiovascular system is working, to make sure you've got some muscle working because you don't know when you're going to have to rely on your physical body to carry you and perhaps carry a dog to
Hmm.
protect a 40, 50-pound dog, perhaps carry a child, an elderly person. If you are healthy enough, then you need to take care of yourself so that you can physically handle it when these things happen. And I think in past times, Catherine, with like World War One, World War Two, our ancestors were healthier anyway. They were more physically fit anyway.
Oh,
And
completely. No
yeah.
comparison. Yeah.
So now we're in a situation where we have luxury and we have comfort. So we need to actually make sure that we are able to have that lung capacity, that cardiovascular health, that body health, and your adrenaline will help you as well. Absolutely, your adrenaline is going to help you. But how much better and more of an asset are you going to be to yourself and your loved ones if you physically can handle? Just look at the videos in North. They're having those hills in Appalachia you have to pull. It's like rock climbing,
Yeah.
and so that is important. And I think one of my favorite stories so far, and I've said this before in our Constitution, I'll be careful how I say this. It says that if our establishment will say is becoming tyrannical, that it is the job of the people to remove them by any
Yeah.
means necessary. And we're seeing that in North Carolina. We're seeing the people of North Carolina do a citizen's arrest on government officials, and that's why they're not getting in trouble because it's in our Constitution. And so, do not be afraid of the government officials if they are causing tyranny, then you have a right to act. You
Yeah.
have a right to detain them and do what you need to do to save your people. The pipsqueaks of DC, the little pipsqueaks in DC can't handle the mountains of North Carolina. But you know who can? The residents.
Hmm.
So, and I will say too, Catherine, not to get all woo woo and spiritual. I was thinking about this Appalachia, and we were supposed to be doing our retreat right now.
Exactly. In exactly that area. Yeah.
And my gut said my gut was telling me not, and I thought it was because of the competition coming up, and maybe that is why all this happened. But I'm so grateful that we didn't have a bunch of people there in this exact area was where we were going to be. But let me tell you a little bit of something about Appalachia. It is the oldest mountain chain in the world. We know that because of the way the hills roll. That it's the oldest in the world. That place is spooky wooky sometimes. There's some real wackadoo paranormal stuff that happens in that mountain. And if those bad guys don't think they have pissed off Appalachia, they got
Mm.
another thing coming. So I will say that from a very spiritual woo-woo perspective, that mountain is on the people side.
Yeah.
They mess with nature, and we know that there are forces in nature all over the Rocky Mountains, the Pyrenees, all over the
Yeah.
Highlands of Scotland. Like I wouldn't be messing. Those forces are older than we are. Like I wouldn't be doing that if I were you. But so and I just I will say one thing, and again, I'm not fear mongering. This is just something that a sailor posted last night from Florida that needs to be said for the people who live in my area. Milton is going across Florida right now. Hurricane Nadine is in the Atlantic Ocean.
Mm.
If it hits Nadine and goes up the Gulf Stream, which goes up the coast of Georgia, it's going to turn around and come back to the Atlantic coast where I live. It's going to hit Atlanta. And they're predicting that to be a category 6, which we've never had a category 6. So for anybody, I know the Southeast we know this, we are aware, but I just want you guys to be prepared of what could be coming next. And I know there's like Hurricane Leslie. There's all these different hurricanes forming in the ocean right now. So please this is warfare. I believe that we're under siege. So wherever you are in the world, don't ignore it. Don't just sit there and try to think happy thoughts. what does Tamara say? Trust God, but tie up your donkey.
That's exactly it. And this is the thing, you can do both. You can absolutely be putting that energy out there, but you have to take inspired action too as well. If you're just sitting there waiting for someone else to save you of this life or another, you're in high risk. So yeah, tie up your donkey, definitely tie up your donkey.
And I will say too, for anybody watching from overseas as well as Americans, I know a lot of people couldn't evacuate because they literally didn't have the money to evacuate. It costs money to put gas in your car and book a hotel. If you are in an upcoming area, especially if your area is, if they're predicting a hurricane's coming to an area anywhere in the world where that, especially where you don't get hurricanes and you don't have money, just email me or Catherine. We'll do a GoFundMe. We'll do whatever we can to help you. Don't let your pride put you and your family or your animals in danger. I can send you $20 to put gas in your car if it's going to get you out of harm's way. So please don't
Wait till you've got somewhere to stay. I've seen people, things like that. Look, you can sleep in your car if you need to.
People will open, like they're doing in Georgia, people will open their yards to you. Like,
well,
people
look at refugee camps everywhere. So that's the least of your problem, is having somewhere to stay.
You need gas money, you send me an email of wherever you are in the world, and I will Venmo you $20 or however we can come together and we can help each other get to safety. So don't ever feel like your life is not worth saving, because it is. And we have around the same number of subscribers, a little over 50,000 subscribers, Catherine. If everybody, one of our subscribers, donated $1 to help somebody get out, we could save a lot of lives, a lot of animals' lives. We could really help each other. So do not hesitate to ask for help, right? If I can't, for some reason I can't help, I'll find somebody. My mother's been Venmoing people in North Carolina money. My mother just told me this morning she's been doing that, Venmoing money to people. So people are willing to help. And even if they don't have money, that's one thing somebody said about the people that they saw in North Carolina. These people in North Carolina don't have anything now, but they are still giving everything to help. One of the guys delivering food said that he'll go to these people in their little campsite and be like, we have food, and they'll go make sure those people get fed first. They need it more than us. These people haven't eaten in 6 days. So people are humanity is really shining in that aspect right now. So do not hesitate to ask for help, please. If you need help, don't be ashamed. Just email us and we will find some way to get you gas, to get you whatever you need to protect your family and yourself from whatever is what has Ram Dass said? We're all just walking each other home.
Brilliant. So I'll put some links to some other key videos that I think are really important for people. And stay safe as much as you can, everyone. And we will be back, not next week actually, but probably the week after. Lots of love, everyone.
When my channel, I don't know when there's going to be deep dives, guys, again. So it might be a week or so. Just please know that this is why. So yeah.
Take care, everyone. So I really hope you're enjoying this podcast as much as I am. And I just wanted to take a little break to tell you about the amazing products by the sponsor of this podcast, the biophotonic EMF and bioresonance devices, which help us take our healing to the next frequency. So let me start with the bioresonance devices. Biophotonic have two amazing little devices, the little BioNexus and the biophotonic, and both of these are really the next generation in bioresonance devices. So let's start with the little BioNexus. This amazing little device literally sits in the palm of your hand. And it's now my go-to support, especially when doing my daily manifestations and affirmation practices. But it will balance out my frequency to work on whatever needs balancing for me right here, right now. So what are some of the benefits of this little BioNexus? Improved energy, decreased inflammation, supports our immune system, psychological homeostasis. But also it supports the integrity of the cells, improves our memory, cognitive, emotional and psychological states, and speeds up recovery. And just like we've been talking about today, it really improves human consciousness support. Now, the other bioresonance device, the biophotonic, absolutely amazing little device, comes preloaded with a range of therapies. And this will clear parasites, giving active protection. You can wear it with you. It comes in a little pouch that you can wear around your neck, and it detoxifies heavy metals, clears EMF radiation out of cells, cleanses bacteria and viruses, detoxes chemicals and toxins, DNA repair, pain repair, you name it. And it's even got calming meditation practices that, well, complexes that you can run to strengthen the aura field, and frequency packs can also be added to your water. I think we all know the detrimental effects now of mobile Bluetooth and EMF radiation. They've been extensively studied and I've done loads of videos on it. So minimizing our exposure is crucial. So what's really key is both the Biophotonic and the BioNexus. They're standalone, lovely little devices that don't require Bluetooth connection, a Wi-Fi connection. You don't need to buy any frequency packages. There's no subscription fee, and you don't need a mobile phone to control them. There's no electrodes. They're completely wireless, ready to use straight from the box. So you can get these and a full range of EMF protection devices that you can use for yourself and your pets. Don't forget to use coupon code CE20 to get 20% off all products, including the EMF protection. Thank you. And now back to the podcast. Taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. And above all, stay curious and stay free.